UFC 326 takes place this weekend, headlining Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. And I'm going to give you my full picks and predictions for the full fight card, so let's get into it. First fight of the night, we have Luke Fernandez versus Rodolfo Bellato. And let's start off with Bellato, man. This guy's a bum. This guy is going nowhere in the UFC. And his last win was in 2023 against Ihor Peteria, where he got a ground and pound TKO. But besides that, he hasn't been able to get a win. He got a draw against Cody Brundage, who's also in the card. He lost against Navajo Sterling, and he also had a no contest. But in that Navajo Sterling fight, he didn't show anything, and he was just very hesitant. And against a guy like Luke Fernandez, who is on the pressure, he's on the gas, he's on the gas pedal, 24/7. This guy's looking to KO you, Luke Fernandez. Most of his wins are by KO or TKO, and he only has one decision, but he's obviously the better fighter, 100%. Like I said, Bellato, he's been in the UFC for a minute, he's a bum, he's not really going anywhere, and I think the UFC is just trying to find a way to cut him, and they're going to find that way by Luke Hernandez winning. So I think Luke Hernandez gets this done easily. I think he's able to get a finish. I think he's going to be able to get a KO, TKO in round two. Just because Bellato leaves his chin up in the air, and he's looking to take you down. So I think Fernandez is going to be able to stuff the takedown and just piece him up on the feet and eventually get that KO in round two. So give me Luke Fernandez by KO, TKO in round two. Alright, guys, and then moving up into the card, we have Young Lee versus Gaston Bolanos. Now, Gaston Bolanos, man, this guy's a good striker, man. He has heavy hands, he has good power behind those hands, and he has really good striking. The only problem with Bolanos is that he has really bad takedown defense and wrestling in general. His wrestling and grappling are just not to par. I think he's just going to get run over. Lee's very well rounded. He's got good striking, and he has that ground game in his back pocket. So I think this fight's going to stay on the feet. For the most part, Lee does like to mix it up sometimes. So, he'll strike, he'll throw 1-2s, and then go for the legs, and then, keep the opponent thinking. And that's really good. That's going to help him out against Bolanos. Because, like I said, Bolanos struggles with his takedown defense. And, I mean, even if Lee wanted to, he can just take Bolanos down and hold him there or just work down there. Because, like I said, Bolanos' takedown defense isn't to par. I think Lee can win anyway by decision submission. Not really TKO, maybe a ground and pound TKO, maybe. But I'm leaning more of maybe a submission or decision. But in general, Lee should win this fight just because he's a better fighter. He's a more well-rounded fighter. So yeah, give me Lee by decision. I think he should be able to do it by decision. But yeah, let's move on, boys. Next up, we have Rafael Tobias versus Dair. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that last name. That's crazy. But Dair, man, this guy looked like a world beater in the regional scene, man. He was doing his thing, and he was doing what he had to do to win. But ever since he's been in the UFC, he's looked horrible, man. He can't get a beat. He cannot get a beat. And he's going up against a guy in Rafael Tobias who is looking really, really promising, really good. And I think this is a Tobias win easily, man. Dair just I don't think he's on the UFC level. He's not there. And I think this is an easy win for Tobias. I think that the UFC is going to try to cut Dair because he's not going anywhere, man. He's not going to go anywhere. And, I mean, just look at the photo, man. Dair, this guy, I mean, it's like heavyweight, but sheesh, this guy looks big. And, yeah, I think this is an easy pick for Tobias to win. And I think Tobias should be able to get it done by KO. KO or decision. But if he does get a KO, I'm going to say KO in round 3. But I got Tobias to win. And, yeah, let's move on, boys. Next up. Now this fight's a low-key sleeper. I say that because Jesus Aguilar has a chance of winning this fight. Now, I have Sumerdeci to win. I think he's just going to be one step ahead, and overall he's the better fighter in my opinion. But you can't count out Jesus Aguilera. He has a really good guillotine that he loves to set up, and he just doesn't just throw it out there. He really looks for it and sets it up, takes his time, and I think he's got like 5 submission wins by guillotine alone. So that's crazy, man. That's crazy to have that many submissions by guillotine in a way that we don't really see because guillotines don't work in the highest level. You know, they don't work because everyone knows how to defend it. But somehow Aguilera is able to do it. So that's a sneaky, that's a sneaky thing to look for. You know, Aguilera to win by submission. But at the end of the day, I have to go with Summerdenchi. Like I said, I think he's a better, more well-rounded fighter, and Summerdenchi, I think he's just gonna pitter patter pick his shots. He's very technical, and then just circle out. And I think this fight's gonna go to decision. I think that's Summerdenchi's way to victory. And just be safe, man. Defend those takedowns. Don't put your neck out there to be grabbed because Aguilera will grab it and take advantage of that mistake. So yeah, I think Summerdenchi's gonna win by decision, but don't be surprised if Aguilera is able to pull it off because he can do it. He's very dangerous, and you got to be careful on what you do. But at the end of the day, like I said, I got Summerdenchi to win by decision. Next up, we have Cody Durden versus Naeem Gal. I don't know, Naeem Jagar. We're just gonna call him Naeem to make it easy. But he's gonna be fighting Cody Durden. I think Naeem's gonna win this easily, man. Cody Durden, man, a couple years ago, maybe this would be a competitive fight, but nowadays, this is just the UFC trying to build Naeem into a low-key bigger name, just because, all the hardcores know who Cody Durden is. So they're just trying to build him up and get Naeem some experience because, Cody Durden's been there with some of the best in the flyweight division. So, like I said, Cody Durden, you can't pick him, man. This guy's way too old. I think he's like 1-4 in his last 5, and this is just the way, like I said, they're building up Naeem, and I think they're going to cut Durden once he loses this fight because he's going nowhere, man. He's at the tail end of his career. I mean, he should have retired a long time ago. But nonetheless, I think Naeem's able to get this done easily. And Naeem's got really good striking. So I think he's going to be able to crack Durden's chin, which is not a hard thing to do nowadays. So I think Naeem should be able to get it done by KO in round 2, maybe round 3. But yeah, give me Naeem by KO in round 2 or 3. Next up, we have Ricky Tercios versus Alberto Montez. Now, a lot of these fights, guys, we have a lot of fighters from the Contender Series, a lot of winners from the Contender Series, as you can see. But yeah, we got Alberto Montez versus Ricky Tercios. Now, back then, maybe not too long ago, I mean, you can call me crazy, you can call me dumb, but I had Ricky Tercios as a prospect. I thought he was pretty good. And we obviously know that he really isn't that good at all. But, Ricky Tercios is looking to take the fight to the ground and is trying to get his grappling going. Look for submissions, maybe even TKO you by ground and pound. But Alberto Montez, he's well-rounded, man. This guy's well-rounded. But ideally, he is looking to take you down, which works perfectly because, they're both going to be grappling. But sometimes, you guys know, sometimes the two grapplers just decide to keep the fight on the feet. And if this does stay on the feet, I still lean Montez. Montez has the way better striking. He likes to pick his shots and get out. And Ricky Tercios, he kind of just bum rushes you, and his striking isn't really all there. And yeah, so like I said, overall, Montez is the better fighter. Honestly, I do think this fight hits the mats, and I think Montez is going to be able to get a submission. And I am going to call either an anaconda or a Darce choke, just because I've seen some tape in Montez's fight footage, and that's what he typically goes for. That's what he's hunting. And he takes his time. He's very technical and just looking for an opening, looking for an error against his opponent. And Ricky Tercios, man, he's kind of... He makes a lot of mistakes on the ground. We saw that when he fought against Rosas Jr. So I got to go with Montez to win. I think Montez to win by submission. I don't really have a round, but I do think Montez should be able to get an anaconda or a Darce because that's what he typically goes for. But yeah, give me Montez by submission. Moving up into the card, we have Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Now, what can I say, man? Cody Brundage, this guy, bottom of the barrel, to say the least. You could call him a gatekeeper if you wanted to. But Man, this guy's record is just horrendous, man. He's got like a no contest, losses galore. He tends to quit in fights. Surprisingly, he hasn't been quitting recently. In his last fight, he was just brawling and actually looking to finish or get a finish and win, which was really surprising because, like I said, he tends to quit. But I think I think this is a death sentence against a guy in Dante Johnson. Johnson's really good, man. He's really good. He used to be an ex heavyweight, and right now he's going to be fighting in middleweight. But man, this guy's good. He's got knockout power, and I think he's going to be able to get that knockout against Cody Brundage, because Cody Brundage doesn't really have his guard up. He has really bad head movement, and like I said, he gives up. If Johnson shows any signs of being tough out there, I think Brundage is just going to give up because that's what he tends to do. But nonetheless, we all know Johnson's gonna win easily. My question here is how good is Johnson? If he's able to clean up Brundage in round one, then he's gonna be really good, and really promising as a prospect. But if this fight's anywhere competitive, we know that Johnson really isn't all that. Like I said, he's gonna win 100%. Put the house on it. He's gonna win the fight. This fight is just to see how good where he's at. What level is Johnson at? But at the end of the day, like I said, I got Johnson by KO. I think he should be able to get that KO in round one. So yeah, give me Johnson round one KO against Cody Brundage, and I think the UFC is gonna keep Cody Brundage just because, like I said, he's a gatekeeper. They like to test a lot of the newcomers, a lot of people against Cody Brundage. So I don't really think Cody Brundage is going to go anywhere. But yeah, give me Dante Johnson to win by KO in round one. Moving up into the card. And I think this is the headliner of the prelims. Yeah, let me check. Yeah, it is. Okay, perfect. Alright. We got Cody Garbrandt, ex-UFC champ, against Zhao Long. What a fall from grace, man. Not too long ago, a couple years ago, he was at the top of the world, champion, and now he's in the prelims, man. This is like the second time he's in the prelims, I believe. He was in the prelims third time, because he fought Hani, I think. And I'm pretty sure he was in the prelims for that one. But he was definitely in the prelims for UFC 300. Like I said, I don't remember against Hani, and now he's in the prelims for this. Which is crazy because some of the fights in the main card could have been swapped for Cody to go into the main card, but they decided not to do that. But yeah, nonetheless, Cody Garbrandt versus Zhao Long. We know what Cody Garbrandt is, man. He's a really good striker. He loves to show off whenever he's, feeling it, whenever he's hot. The only problem is his takedown defense. He's not really there, man. We saw that when he fought against Hani, he got taken down and just controlled. And we saw that when he got controlled and submitted by Davidson Figueiredo. His wrestling has always been his downfall, man. Always been his downfall. He just doesn't work for it, and that could be an issue when he's fighting against a guy in Zhao Long. Now Zhao Long's kind of like a brawler. He likes to bum rush you, but sometimes he's just a wrestler. He's just gonna hold you down and defeat you that way. It just depends what version of Zhao you get. But he is the younger fighter as well. I think he's like 27, and Garbrandt's 34. So Garbrandt's at the tail end of his career. I think he should have retired a while ago just because he's not the same. If anything, if the UFC does keep him, they should give him exciting fights, but this isn't it. They're just trying to feed Zhao Long and have him win a relatively easy fight, in my opinion, against Garbrandt. I think Zhao Long should be able to mix it up on the feet, and if he finds any issues, any adversary on the feet, he's going to take Cody down easily, man, because like I said, Zhao Long is well-rounded. My only issue is that if he bum rushes too much, or if he does something kind of stupid, that Garbrandt's going to catch him, and he might KO him, because Garbrandt is there. He's got that knockout power. We've seen that before. But yeah, overall, I have to go with the better, more well-rounded fighter in Zhao Long. I think he should be able to get it done, and I think this fight's gonna go to decision, man. Cody's a hard out. Cody's hard to get out of there. Only the best have been able to do it, and I mean Zhao Long is not the best, So yeah, I got Zhao Long to win by decision. Let's move on. into the main card. Opening the main card, we have Gregory Rodriguez versus Bruno Ferreira. Now, this is a rematch, guys. Originally, Bruno Ferreira won in short notice. I think he came in short notice, and he won against Gregory. And like I said, it's a rematch. But not all rematches play the same, man. Most of the time, when there is a rematch, the other fighter tends to win. And I am leaning towards the other fighter in Gregory Rodriguez. Now, we got to remember, guys, short notice fights, typically the guy that has the full camp, yes, he's in shape, but he's been preparing for one specific fight style. And when you get a whole different fight style, it can be a shock. It could be a shock to you. And they both have full fight camps. I think Gregory Rodriguez should be able to get it done, especially because he's the taller fighter. We know that Gregory Rodriguez knows how to use his length. He will use his length, pick his shots, circle out. If he needs to, he will stay in the pocket and punch you, but he's not really going to be doing that. But he's a dog. The only problem is that they both tend to gas out. So this fight can be a little slow if they put it all out there, in the first round, maybe in the second round. But at the end of the day, I have to go with Gregory Rodriguez. Just because Bruno Ferreira is going to have to stay in the pocket, chase Gregory Rodriguez down. He's going to have to be headhunting, And Gregory Rodriguez, he doesn't really have to headhunt. He can keep to his distance, pick his shots, and move out. And yeah, so for those reasons, I have to go with Gregory Rodriguez. And this fight, we don't even have to worry about the takedowns. This fight's not going to get taken down. Both fighters lack in that department, but that's not going to happen in this fight. I think Gregory Rodriguez should be able to get a KO, and I think he gets it later in the rounds. Maybe round 2, maybe early round 3. But yeah, give me Gregory Rodriguez to win by KO, TKO in, let's say, late round 2. Let's say that. Moving up, we have Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. Now, I gotta give a lot of props to the UFC, man. The UFC tends to feed these guys, the bigger, low-key bigger names, to up-and-comers, new killers, new prospects, and they're not doing that with this fight. They're putting some respect on both of these guys' names in Drew Dober and Michael Johnson. And we love that, man. I love to see that, personally. They've both given everything to the company, and it's nice to see that, one of our unks is going to win this fight. But, nonetheless, let's break it down. We have Michael Johnson versus Drew Dober. Now, Michael Johnson is pretty well-rounded, man. Pretty well-rounded. He can take you down. He's a good striker. And we've seen that when he fought against Daniel Zellhuber, who just fought last week, who got obliterated by Bobby Green. And the same can be said when he fought against Michael Johnson. Just show out, man. Michael Johnson did what he had to do, and he looked good, man. Good footwork, was circling out, and was just showing off everything, man. And which is surprising for someone who's almost 40 years old, You don't really see that. Now let's break down Drew Dober. Now, Drew Dober, in his last fight, he did win against Kyle Prepolek, but we got to take into account, man. Kyle Prepolek was making his UFC debut, and he came in short notice, like a day, maybe a week, something like that. But he came in short notice, and it was a competitive fight. Kyle Prepolek was able to knock down Drew Dober, rock him a couple times. But Drew Dober did win. But, like I said, Drew Dober got rocked and he got knocked down. I don't think Drew Dober's chin's all that it used to be. And we got to take into account that Drew Dober likes to stay on the feet. He doesn't really wrestle. And Michael Johnson does. Michael Johnson does wrestle. He will take you down if he has to. So Michael Johnson has that in his back pocket. But this fight can stay on the feet and Michael Johnson wins, man. I think Michael Johnson can get that knockout just because, like I said, bro, how are you getting rocked and knocked down by a guy that's coming in short notice, 1 day short notice, That's crazy. And Michael Johnson is looking better than ever, fighting a upcoming prospect that everyone thought was, gonna make the lightweight division move, And he looked amazing in that fight. So you have to go with the guy that's looking a lot better, man. The guy that's looking a whole lot better. And yeah, I mean, I don't really think this is a hard fight to pick, in my opinion. I got Michael Johnson to win. And I think he can win by by anything. But if I had to say, I think Michael Johnson does get KO, TKO in, Let's say round three. I think Drew Dober is going to be able to survive most of whatever Johnson does throw in the very first rounds, but I think that it's going to get. I think that it's going to be too much. Eventually, I think Johnson's going to be able to get it done late. Maybe late round two, round three. So yeah, give me Johnson to win by KO TKO in late round two, early round three. And yeah, man, it's sad to see, man, because I like Drew Dober. I like him. And if I could pick who wins, I would pick Drew Dober. But I think it's just gonna be too much, man. Michael Johnson looked really good. And Drew Dober's chin's not there anymore. It's not there. But yeah, at least one of our unks is gonna win this fight. So and at least the UFC's giving these guys a chance. So yeah, Michael Johnson to win by KO late round two, early round three. Let's get it. Moving up, we have Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. And the UFC's not doing the same. Doing the same for Rob Font. They're feeding him to Raul Rosas, and I think Raul Rosas Jr. is going to be able to win this relatively easily, in my opinion. Just because Rob Font's kind of washed nowadays. He's not the same fighter that he used to be. And Raul Rosas Jr. has learned a lot, especially since that loss that he got when he gassed out. And I don't think that's gonna happen in this fight. I'm sure Raul Rosas Jr. learned from his mistakes, and he's not gonna give his all in the very first round. He's gonna maximize his stamina and be there for all three. But like I said, Raul Rosas Jr. should be able to win. I think it's gonna be a decision. Just because Rob Font is a hard out, he's really hard to finish. So yeah, give me Raul Rosas Jr. to win by decision. Don't be surprised if Rob Font looks good in maybe early round one. But besides that, I think Raul should be able to get his rhythm and win this fight. So yeah, I got Raul Rosas Jr. to win by decision. Moving up, I think, yes sir, this is the co-main event. Now the co-main event, boys, we have Caio Borralho versus RDR. Now, not too long ago, these guys were in title contention, one went away and they were going to fight for the title. But we're in a situation where these guys both lost their fights, for the number one contender. And whoever wins this fight is going to be back in title contention. Maybe one good win against maybe even DDP, DDP's still number one. They would, fight for the title next. But yeah, we got Caio Borralho versus RDR. Now, RDR, man, I never really held him too highly. When he came into the UFC, I was kind of surprised he beat Robert Whittaker. He was on his little run that he was on. But man, I can't pick a guy that gives up, especially since it's not his first time giving up on the stool. He's given up before in one championship, and he gave up in the UFC against Brendan Allen, and a guy that I don't really hold too highly. I don't think Brendan Allen's all that good. If we were to match up Caio versus Brendan Allen, I think Caio wins that relatively easily, in my opinion. But yeah, man, that's crazy. How you're able to just give up on the stool. Usually, you just curl up in a ball like Anthony Smith, and that's the way you give up. But this guy, didn't do that. He chose to sit on the stool and not stand up. So yeah, I think this is an easy win for Caio, in my opinion. We know that Caio uses his length. He throws 1-2s and circles out, and he's really technical. He likes to do that, and his fights primarily go to decision, which is good. He has a good gas tank. We've seen him go all 5 rounds. This fight's not 5 rounds, but we know he has a gas tank, and he can put that pressure on RDR and gas him out. I think a finish here is pretty live on Caio's side. I think Caio can get a finish, but at the end of the day, I think Caio does win a decision, and I think he moves up. I think he should be fighting someone in the top 3, because after this win, he's gonna be pretty high up there, and with one more win, he's gonna fight for the title. So maybe a Caio versus DDP would be very interesting. But yeah, I think this is an easy fight for Caio, and I don't really have anything else to say, man. RDR, like I said, doesn't really impress me in what he's showed us, and he gave up. So I can't pick someone like that. So I have to go with Caio. And the main event, we have Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Amazing, amazing main event. Where do I start, man? Where do I start? This fight's a rematch, obviously, from I believe 2015, and Max Holloway did win by KO TKO. And if that's all you saw, if you never saw the fight, if you just saw the record, then you would think, Max got a chance. But if you really watch that fight, it wasn't even really a fight. They exchanged for a little bit, and then Charles Oliveira was on the fence, and then just laid down. And it was something with his like esophagus, something like that. That he had an injury during the fight, that he hurt his like neck area, and yeah, that's the way Max won. But basically, you can't take any of that into account. Um, and plus, these guys are different animals nowadays. Back then, Charles Oliveira was primarily a BJJ guy, and Max Holloway was just a boxer. But both of these guys are pretty well rounded nowadays, and are on the top of their game. So let's start off with Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira has improved his boxing, his stand up, and he looks good, man. But he can also take you down and submit you. He does have the most finishes in UFC history. And he can easily get a submission finish. And he can easily get a submission finish in this fight. Max Holloway's ground game isn't as good as Charles Oliveira's is. He doesn't want the fight there anyways. Max Holloway wants to fight on the feet, and he's gonna be looking to piece you up. Now, Max's boxing is one of the best in the UFC. We've seen a lot of people box, and besides a couple, other people, Max's boxing is pretty up there. It's really good. He has really good defense, and he knows how to pick his shots. But in this fight, I think Charles Oliveira is going to keep it on the feet and mix it up a little bit. Maybe get in the clinch. Maybe look for a single leg, double leg. But at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, you have to pick a winner. And I think Charles Oliveira wins this, man. I don't know how. I saw one of my bookies. One of my bookies has Charles Oliveira as a plus 200, and that's insanity to me, man. Even if you think Max is gonna win, you have to put some money on Charles Oliveira. Plus 200 is crazy, man. You don't see that, man. You don't see that. So, if you're going for Max, you have to put a little bit of chalk on Charles Oliveira. But at the end of the day, I have to go with Charles Oliveira. I think Charles Oliveira wins by any means, bro. I think he can get a KO. Just because after we saw that after Ilya chinned Max Holloway, his chin hasn't been the same, man. Has not been the same. He fought Dustin Poirier, and in that fight, he got rocked and low key dropped. He fell to one knee in that fight, and that wasn't Max's chin a couple years ago, man. Even before the Ilya fight, that was not Max's chin. So we got to remember, Charles Oliveira has that punching power, and he can make that happen. I think ideally for Max to win, this fight would have to go to decision, and it would have to be striking fest from Max Holloway. But it's MMA, bro. It's MMA. It's not a boxing fight, and I think Charles Oliveira has more tools in his pocket to win this fight. Like I said, he can take you down, he can submit you, he can KO you, and he could just win a submission. I think that Charles Oliveira is going to get a submission in this fight, maybe round 3, 4, around there. But I have to go with Charles Oliveira, man. At plus money, the hotter fighter in my opinion, because he just fought Mateusz Gamrot and he out-grappled him, man. Mateusz Gamrot is no one to scoff at, man. He has really good grappling, and Charles Oliveira just drove over him like it was nothing. I have to go with Charles Oliveira. He has more tools in his pocket, man. And at the end of the day, Max Holloway has to have a perfect fight, in my opinion. I think Charles can win by anything, man, by anything. So yeah, I have to go with Charles Oliveira to win. I'm going to say submission, rounds 3, 4, maybe. I don't think this fight's going to go to decision at all. But, yeah. Give me Charles Oliveira to win by submission. And, yeah, boys, those were my picks and predictions for the full fight card of UFC 326. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.